Week 13 is officially in the books.
Look, flip it up to the end zone. Kelsey down there. What a contact! Incomplete. Packers win.
Boom! Before we jump into previews for Week 14, let's take a look back at the results from TPS versus the world in Week 13. The TPS experts had a monster week, going 11-2, but whiffed on the lock of the week thanks to the Jaguars falling in a shocking loss to Jake Browning and the Bengals. The Madden simulation, on the other hand, had a weak showing, posting a 5-8 record. Meanwhile, the world had another solid week, going 9-4. After this week's games, the season standings are as follows. TPS 110-83, Madden simulation 93-100, and the world moves to an impressive 127-66. All in, there will be 2 lucky winners taking home TPS bucks this week. Only one TPSer, B-Boy at its 12, mentioned the week's passing yard leader, Jake Browning. And the second, guy in the comments 6217, will take home the second for his accurate upset predictions, having predicted that the Cardinals would beat the Steelers and the Bengals would topple the Jaguars. So a big round of applause to our 2 winners. But now, we're on to Week 14, where there will be another chance for the TPS fans to take home some TPS bucks. So to make sure you're in the mix, 1. Make sure you're subscribed to our channel. 2. Like this video. And 3. Comment below with which teams will have the most sacks this week and how many they'll have as a potential tiebreaker. Alright, with all that out of the way, let's get into the action. New England Patriots versus Pittsburgh Steelers. Fresh off their stunningly boring 0-6 loss in Week 13, the Patriots are headed to the Steel City to face off with a Pittsburgh team that'll have a new starting quarterback on a short week. 90% of the community still voted in favor of the Steelers here. But the Madden sim predicted that the Patriots will find their way to a victory in another horrendously boring, low-scoring game, 6-3. Well, our pickers are backing the Steelers in this one, but think it will be slightly more exciting. But only slightly, as we're envisioning Pittsburgh taking this one 16-10. Houston Texans versus New York Jets. Lock of the week. The Houston Texans secured a huge win in Week 13 over the Broncos and should have a favorable matchup in Week 14 as they head to the Meadowlands to face a Jets team that has been, well, increasingly dysfunctional as of late. 95% of the fans think that the Texans are going to win this one, as does the Madden sim, which predicted a 24-14 win for Houston. And yeah, we're aligned with the consensus on this one. The Jets offense is simply way too pathetic for them to keep pace with CJ Stroud and company. Houston easily takes our lock of the week by a final score of 27-3. Los Angeles Rams versus Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens will be well rested this week coming off the bye, but will have their hands filled with a red-hot Rams team coming into town. The TPS fans, however, aren't too convinced by the Rams' recent uptick, as 90% of the votes came in backing the Ravens. The Madden simulation sees it going a bit differently, though. The Rams take it by 17-13, and the game ends with a failed Hail Mary attempt by Lamar Jackson. And you know, our pickers are aligned with the machine on this one. It's a hungry dog runs faster sort of mentality, and Los Angeles really needs this one. The Rams take it by a final score of 27-24. Carolina Panthers versus New Orleans Saints. As it turns out, the Panthers' problems in 2023 run a bit deeper than just having Frank Reich at the helm. Because, Carolina fell yet again in Week 13 with interim coach Chris Tabor leading the squad. They'll head down to the Big Easy this week to face a Saints team that has had plenty of struggles of its own, but miraculously is still in the running in a terrible NFC South. Well, the community is all over the Saints in this one, regardless of the question marks around their quarterback situation. In fact, 89% of the votes came in favor of New Orleans. The Madden simulation, on the other hand, thinks that Carolina will steal its second win of the season by a final score of 29-26. Yeah, our experts are with the fans on this one. New Orleans is going to take care of business this week. Final prediction, New Orleans 27, Carolina 13. Indianapolis Colts versus Cincinnati Bengals. Well, we may not have expected it with Joe Burrow and Anthony Richardson missing the remainder of the season. This Week 14 matchup between the Colts and Bengals actually has serious playoff implications. 80% of the voters think that Indy will manage to squeak out another win behind the leadership of Gardner Minshew. as does the Madden simulation, which has predicted a barn burner 35-24 win for the Colts. But you know, our experts are buying the Jake Browning magic. Plus, Minshew, and really the entirety of this young scrappy Colts team, really just hasn't been the same out on the road. Cincinnati keeps their playoff hopes alive and takes this one at home by a final score of 38-33. Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons did little to inspire faith in their ability to make a deep playoff run with the way that they played against the Jets last week. But a win in Week 14 against the Buccaneers would put them in the driver's seat to at least qualify in a very meager NFC South. Only 60% of the community voted in favor of the Falcons, though, indicating that the public perception is this could be really anyone's game. The Madden simulation, however, agrees with that slim majority as it predicted a 35-14 win for Atlanta. Our experts are kind of thinking a little bit different here, and we're going to roll with Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers. Atlanta's offense is just way too disjointed behind Desmond Ridder, and they're not going to be able to get that job done this week. Tampa Bay takes this one by a final of 16-10. Jacksonville Jaguars versus Cleveland Browns. With serious question marks circling the health and availability of Jaguars quarterback Trevor Lawrence after that backbreaking loss on Monday night, Jacksonville is going to have to regroup as it heads to Cleveland to face Joe Flacco and a Browns team that needs a win to keep on the postseason track. The vast majority are back in the Jaguars, 87% to be exact. The Madden simulation is also back in the Jags here, predicting a final score of 35-19. The TPS experts, however, think that the Browns' defense is going to be way too much for the Jags to handle, especially with the aforementioned injury to Trevor Lawrence and Christian Kirk. Cleveland does just enough on offense and plays great D to take this one by a final score of 18-10. Detroit Lions versus Chicago Bears. The Detroit Lions should have a favorable matchup this week as they head to the Windy City to face a lowly Bears team coming off the bye. The public is all over Detroit in this one, with 90% of the votes coming in favor of the Lions. The Madden machine, however, thinks that somehow, someway, the Bears will pull this one off. It showed Justin Fields drawing a PI on a last-second Hail Mary, followed by a Cairo Santos field goal to send the game into overtime, where Khalil Herbert ripped off a massive 58-yard game-winning touchdown run. Now, as much as we support the theatrics, the TPS team thinks that this one is going chalk. Detroit is just a significantly better side and wins this one easily. Final score, Detroit 42, Chicago 28. Seattle Seahawks versus San Francisco 49ers. The San Francisco 49ers are officially playing their best ball of the season, coming off a huge road win against the Eagles. And now they're set to host a Seahawks team that is desperate for a win. To nobody's surprise, 89% of the votes came in siding with the 49ers. And yeah, the machine agrees with the public here, as it predicted a 38-31 slobber knocker of a game that is sealed down the stretch by a Nick Bosa sack. Our team, however, thinks that this might be a bit of a letdown spot for San Francisco. Geno Smith has one of his best games of the year, and Seattle steals a huge win on the road by a final score of 28-24. Minnesota Vikings versus Las Vegas Raiders. In a matchup between the two well-rested teams coming off a bye, the community has spoken, and 78% of the votes came in support of the Vikings, who admittedly have a whole lot more to play for than the Raiders at this point. The Madden simulation sees it playing out a little bit differently, though, as it's predicted a 26-7 win for the Raiders. Yep, our experts are siding with Joshua Dobbs and the Vikings in this one, though. Minnesota rolls to a 21-13 win. Denver Broncos versus Los Angeles Chargers. The Denver Broncos absolutely need to secure a win this week, and they should have a decent chance to do so as they travel to the City of Angels to face a mess of a Chargers team. 79% of the voters think that Russell Wilson and the Broncos can easily get it done here. But Madden is siding with Justin Herbert and the Chargers, predicting a 34-16 win. Yeah, that's optimistic of the machine, but our pickers are in lockstep with the community on this one. LA's offense has been an absolute mess as of late, and it won't be able to do much of anything against a stout Denver D. A final score, Denver 24, Chargers 13. Buffalo Bills versus Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs are set to host a Bills team that needs a win to keep its playoff dreams alive. The public is still fairly split on it despite Buffalo's challenging season, with 65% of the votes coming in favor of Andy Reid's crew. The Madden simulation is predicting a win for Buffalo by a final score of 33-27. Well, our experts are siding with the voters on this one. Mahomes and co. won't drop 2 in a row at this stage in the season. KC takes this 27-20. Philadelphia Eagles versus Dallas Cowboys. In what is far and away the most highly anticipated Week 14 matchup, the Eagles are traveling to Jerry's World to face a red-hot Cowboys team with the NFC East lead on the line. The community was pretty split on this one, nearly 50-50 in fact, with a slight edge to the Eagles, who ended up finishing with 56% of the votes. The Madden simulation has some other ideas though, as it's predicting a 24-17 win for the Cowboys. Well, the TPS pickers think that this game will live up to the billing and come down to the very wire. But ultimately, Jalen Hurts and the Birds will prevail and secure a huge road win by a final score of 35-31. Green Bay Packers versus New York Giants. The scorching hot Green Bay Packers are headed to the Meadowlands to face Tommy DeVito and a Giants team that are coming off a bye. The public thinks that this one will be all Green Bay, with the Packers catching 92% of the votes. The machine is aligned with this pick too, as it predicted a 24-10 win for the Packers. But our pickers on the other hand think that this is going to be a big letdown spot for the Packers, and that the Giants will just be a bit too much for Jordan Love and company. Tommy DeVito and the Giants pull off a stunning 21-17 upset in this one. Tennessee Titans versus Miami Dolphins. Alright, last but not least, we have our Monday Night Football showdown between the home Miami Dolphins and the Tennessee Titans. The community doesn't think that the Titans have any shot in this one. And yeah, with pretty good reason, as their season is essentially over. But for some reason, the Madden simulation thinks that Tennessee takes this one 17-14. Well, our pickers are with the Dolphins on this one. Miami is just a way better team. They're gonna win this one easily. In fact, they pour it on. We're seeing this one end to the tune of a 52-14 final. So, there you have it. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Then add your own bold prediction down below for a chance to win some awesome prizes. And be sure to vote on next week's game starting Sunday night in our community section. Then, tune in next week to see if you won.